Hey, you geeks! Yesterday, I was able to join an Amazon special fan event for airing episode 1 of season 3 of The Wheel of Time. It wasn't that exclusive, they were practically giving the links away, so I hope you were able to join in as well. If you weren't, my video is going to be airing after episode 1 has become public on Amazon's Prime. I say this to explain that I have only seen this episode once without any extra recording or basically very little note taking, as I just sucked it all in. So this is rather discombobulated for me as I tried to give this review, and I'm sorry if I get certain details wrong. That being said, I still had a great time and hope to share with you my general sense of fun and excitement for what the season will bring. Book spoilers through books 4 and 5-ish, with if you know innuendos for anything later. Now on to fully spoiling the plot and character arcs of episode 1. Killer cold open. Oh boy, the cold open was everything we saw in the first 11 minutes and more. And I so called it that Alana's warder was going to die, the warder who is not Maxim, although after I made that prediction earlier last week, Amazon aired the latest round of posters where Alana and only Maxim got posters, so the impending doom of her second warder, or first, was very apparent in the air. Notably, he was the calmer of the three, so we definitely are now going to see a more reckless and emotionally distraught Alana moving forward, as she should be. Nynaeve freezing in the chamber was very good reminder of Nynaeve making her block. I want to see her get so angry this season. I am tired of Little Miss Nice Nynaeve. Even if she is likable, she is likable, okay? Actress, she's a wonderful person. But Nynaeve is not supposed to be likable and nice right now, so I hope that this is setting the bar here so that she goes up here by the end of the season. I'm fine with it starting here, so long as it goes somewhere. We got to see so much channeling this episode already, and color coordination. There is thought, and we have a magic choreographer we learned in the behind-the-scenes Q&A after the first episode, and it shows. You can tell that there's thought and direction to these movements, and it's not just, react to the green ball however you feel like it. There is effort, and I appreciate it. However, with all this weaving, we're also seeing more yellow healing, which is allowing the violence to get Deadpool and Wolverine levels of ridiculous. Oh no, Swan's going to kill Liandrin. Oh no, Liandrin's going to kill Swan. Oh no, the warders are going to kill Liandrin. The fake out deaths are a lot and kind of cheapen when the death actually happens. As a book reader, I know Alana's agreeing she doesn't have the healing talent, and she's emotionally distraught, so probably couldn't embrace the source to light a candle. But I hope they dive into more of that for the show-only viewers who are seeing women in yellow going around bringing people from the brink of death, but we're not seeing what happens why Alana can't do it. Lastly, in amazing displays of power in episode 1, we get to see the Black Sisters, try to shield Swan, and then Swan break through the shield implicitly after one of the Black Sisters ties off her weave to go break a bell tower. And with how fast and loose the shields have been played with before. Like, Moraine seemed to not know what a shield was, but also was shielding Logain, and then they were shielding Rand in season 2. So this visually conveyed to me that they finally understand what the heck a shield is, and that's kind of important for future events. So I am very glad to see it visually conveyed here, and I hope they don't forget. With that, this episode turns to establishing where all of our main characters are at, and it's Tar Valon, not Falme. Egwene. We see Egwene and Rand are returned to their series opening relationship, which isn't authentic to the books, but to the show, so okay. I do like how her underlying trauma of being a Damane is still very much motivating her as a character. Why she's chosen to wear a harness on her upper body, like, I get it from a costuming perspective of what it's trying to tell the audience, but like a character perspective, I don't think Egwene the character ever even wears necklaces again in the books because she ain't about to be collared. So I do find Egwene's hostility to Siuan like pretty big difference from her in the books. Like, in the books, she was willing to basically bow down to almost any authority figure except for the Seanchan. In fact, I've always interpreted her having that dream with the Aiel Dreamwalkers first as absolutely necessary to why she wanted to go to the Aiel Waste. She had learned in The Dragon Reborn that they could not, the Aes Sedai, teach her dreamwalking, and so she had to find a new role model to suck up to and embodies, and that is why she was ready to follow the Dreamwalkers. So this like already kind of hostility that she doesn't follow the tower but the light, I think is super interesting and sort of makes her more bearable as a character since we actually see her stand up to Siuan in favor of Rand, and that she's willing to go back to Rand after, during her accepted tests that we get to see in episode 1, seeing him go crazy and implicitly have to kill him off screen. So that is a fair adaptation of her accepted test in the book without introducing the whole 13 Sisters thing that may come into play later the series if we're lucky, or they might cut it out because it's overly complicated. So yeah, I'm fine with where Egwene is beginning. Mat's first line is everything Mat needs to be in this season. It's the old tongue, it's incomprehensible, and everyone stares at him like, yes, this is Mat being the Mattiest Mat to ever Mat. It's so great. I love it. He also has a very iconic line at the end of the episode that, yes, we've all been thinking it. Thank you for pointing it out, Mat. You are wonderful. Between these highlights, we learn that not only does he get all the memories since blowing the horn, implicitly that is now explained, as that was kind of unclear in the books until a certain other event, which we may actually get this season. Like, Rand and Perrin were playing Snakes and Foxes. Like, I almost, like, ran upstairs to just yell at my roommate that they're playing Snakes and Foxes! She's never seen the show, read the book, no clue, but they're playing Snakes and Foxes! I'm excited. I'm so excited. I'm okay with his decision to stay with Nynaeve, because she needs to tell him about the doorway that I hope he's gonna go through. Like, him missing Rhuidean is okay if he gets the red ter'angreal in the now established ter'angreal room in the tower. He's gonna need a lot of luck to get in there, but hey, they're letting him into the training grounds we've seen in the latest clips release. Also, him playing Maiden's Kiss was perfect. Like, we only have his word for it in the books that he only got a few scrapes, so, the show can totally add what probably actually happened in the books implicitly. I will say that the biggest deviation from Matt feeling to be himself was him just openly bragging with the horn at some random inn that he is a hero, Matt, not a bloody hero coffin, and that he blew the horn of Valyr. Like, he never wanted to tell anyone that in the books. I have more hope for Matt's plotline than I ever did before, and I hope that my hope is not in vain. Perrin. I guess he's just going home now because he's homesick, which, like, the three Targaryen were constantly homesick throughout all of the books, and even Rand in the show says to Moiraine he would like to go home. So we're still getting the country bumpkin farmers vibes that were so essential to Robert Jordan's story about the three of them becoming unlikely heroes. Perrin, as Marcus Rutherford explained in the after episode 1 Q&A, is again in such denial about all of this, and he thinks he can just go home and restart his quiet, normal life far away from Aes Sedai and the Dark One and meddling. And if this is the main focus of Perrin's arc, to go home and learn that even his homecoming is not what he thought it would be, I'm okay with this, and that he has to learn to become a hero. Like, that is the point of The Shadow Rising for Perrin, and if season 3 gets us to the same place, we're good with this. I'm good with this. Unfortunately, since most of his plot is going to be happening at the Two Rivers in Tar Valon, all he really has to do is sit around and brood, which he's gotten a lot better acting advice on him brooding, and also he's not on screen as often when he's doing it. So we're getting Perrin being supportive to others, Perrin playing snakes and foxes, Perrin drinking, Perrin having sullen, alone, quick scenes of him thinking about the whole axe unaliving thing. And that's all the Perrin we really need for this episode. I think he's off on a good direction, but there's just not a lot to talk about for him right now. And that's a good thing. Nynaeve and Lan, they are much more of an item in this spinning of the wheel. Like, of course, it's Amazon, and Hollywood has to make their relationship physical and on screen. Not like X-rated or anything, but far more than the prudish wisdom of the Two Rivers would have been comfortable with in the books. As I said about her in the cold open, like, she is so struggling with her block, and her friends are now talking to her about her block and how they want to be there to protect her, and we're still not seeing her get angry. Even her getting stabbed later doesn't make her get angry. But I do appreciate that she is still there to be the wisdom that Matt needs, as he needed her in the Stone of Tear in the books. I don't dislike this show's Nynaeve, and I don't dislike this show's Lan, but like, Lan and Nynaeve in the show are what if those characters from the book had healthy coping mechanisms, more or less. Apparently Lan is now taking up the sword of Melchieri Kings, which seems less of a cool Aragorn moment, but more of a, hey, nitpickers, that wasn't the sword you thought it was earlier. This is the sword you thought it was, and now we are going forward as if it is a power rod sword, which we've now explained to the audience.
Everybody got that?
He also gives Nynaeve his ring, which is a big deal in the books, and although it's not the ring of Melchieri Kings, but rather the ring of Melchieri Queens, but 6 one way, half a dozen the other. Yeah, they're in a healthy place with their relationship, which is good. I like the season is so dark and depressing already. I hate to see like the happy characters get ruined, but the books, they are not happy characters, and I just want to see them get broken up inside and angry. Very angry. Please, Amazon. Rand. Rand spends this episode doing everything I ever wanted him to do in this episode. He's still that country bumpkin at heart, and then deals with his homesickness and looming responsibility with being kind of a jerk to her, as he would be at this point in The Shadow Rising. Lastly, it is he, not Moiraine, Rand al'Thor, who decides which way the plot is going to go from here, setting Moiraine on her heels, and it's wonderful to see that power dynamic shift. The only thing I find off about this Rand is that Moiraine says that, well, she can't lie, so he apparently told Moiraine that Lanfear was haunting his dreams, which shows so much more trust in Moiraine and her loyalty than I feel like he had for her in the books at this time. He's also oddly comfortable with apparently two-timing Lanfear and Egwene. In the books, he had multiple women in his life, but he beat himself up about it for so long. And now he just gives us this little grin. We don't know, thankfully, how detailed Lanfear and Rand are doing in these dreams when he's back together with Egwene. And now that I think Egwene and Rand's romantic relationship is going to be a much bigger part of the plot than ever in Robert Jordan's telling. I don't know how I feel about this. Jordan had a lot of romance going on. Loved dodecahedron all around. But also, Egwene never broke from Rand because he broke her heart. Rather, she had her own goals. So this is almost an undoing of the Bechdel thing. It does kind of inversely mirror the Lanfear-Luz-Ilyena triangle that I think now would be a really good time for the show to tell us about. We could actually be getting the prologue from Eye of the World this season, just with Lanfear instead of Ishii to do the healing of Luz. Who knows what the future may bring? Rand here and now is perfection. Please, I want more of this Rand. Amazon, please? Moiraine. Moiraine's character this episode might be the most divisive change that the show has made from the books this season. Now, compared to earlier seasons, I find this change minute, but people who are going to dislike the show, I feel like, are going to point to Moiraine having a casual chat and tenuous alliance with Lanfear as something Book Moiraine would never do. And they can point to so many book quotes of characters being like, oh, if Moiraine knew I was dealing with the Forsaken, she'd definitely kill the Forsaken, or kill me, or kill us both. Rand is a lot of these. But also, we know that Moiraine knows more than Rand thinks she knows, and so I'm not entirely sure if this subjective read that the characters have of Moiraine, who implicitly allows things to happen in the books, is as opposed to working with Forsaken as everyone thinks she is. But she is still ruthless in pursuing her goals. She totally is fine with isolating Rand from his friends. You really get that vibe at the end of The Dragon Reborn when, Mat is just sitting in the room and all the stuff is going on around him and Moraine's keeping them all separate. And she says as much at the beginning in her head during The Shadow Rising, that she wants them all under her thumb, but not conspiring together. that does not go well for her in the books, and her trying to break up the gang in the show equally does not go well. Her conspiracy with Lanfear got clearly out of hand, so maybe she thought that it would just be enough to keep them shaken, but under her control, instead of sending them off to the 5 different corners of the continent. Her relationship with Varen, I really love how Varen asks her in their one scene together if she who was ready to follow the Dragon Reborn to the last battle is actually willing to follow Rand al'Thor to the last battle. If this is Moiraine's thesis statement for this season, does she trust Rand al'Thor? I think that's exactly the sort of question Robert Jordan had Moiraine asking herself from the Dragon Reborn into the Shadow Rising, into the Fires of Heaven. And that's the right track. At its best, I believe the show is using this uncomfortable alliance between Moiraine and Lanfear as a way of setting up what will soon become their rivalry and eventual duel to the death that I'm sure we will see in the rings, at least. Since Robert Jordan was the ultimate master of having characters reacting to things that the perspective character doesn't think they know about, like all of Moiraine's plot in The Fires of Heaven is her reacting to Lanfear, even though she never shares any page time up to the end with Lanfear herself. Yeah, the show doesn't have Robert Jordan's expanse to establish how this relationship really works. So fine, give them an uncomfortable alliance to clue the new viewers in that, hey, these two are going to be important with Rand moving forward. 1,000 Gingers. Okay, Rand objecting to the Maidens of the Spear following him around Tar Valon was one of those just like scenes that sparked such joy in my little fangirl heart. Now, they later stopped following him around, I guess, because, as Aviendha says, he's not the Kara Karn yet, and therefore, I guess, is slightly less worthy of their protection. Aviendha and Elaine are getting together, because of course they are. It's Hollywood, baby. And I have to live with that. But when Elaine is not being distracted by romance, she is still Elaine, the daughter heir of Andor, and giving Rand, as she did in the books, good advice about ruling and responsibility. And it's really her words we see inspiring Rand to go against Moiraine and into the Waste. So, yeah, I really like that dynamic of Aviendha already establishing that she is going to follow the Kara Karn, even though she can't stand Rand, while Elaine is willing to follow Rand and the Dragon Reborn, as she, in her personal capacity as Elaine, as well as the daughter heir of Andor, is also, as Andor, going to support the Dragon Reborn. There's this great dichotomy with these characters already between who they are in their personality and who they are according to the wheel, and I like that the show is exploring this. And I'm also relieved that Rand is apparently not going off into the Waste, worried about Elaine's 2 letters. I guess they're replacing his 2 women with the 2 letters thing, so maybe this does even out in the end. Whirlpools in the pattern. I guess we're doing away with the bubbles of evil for now, at least, and just saying Forsaken can do this with probably the true power. I'm not going to look into if Robert Jordan's true power could actually do this, but in the books, they all kind of assumed it was a Forsaken anyway until Moiraine exposition ferried the heck out of that scene. But I'm not going to be so petty as to complain about how it was done, because why it was done was so much more interesting and moved the plot forward. Like, Egwene going from her traumatic testing to her traumatic flashbacks of being a Damani to waking up with Rand seemingly strangling her. Like, this is her fear moving forward in the books, that Rand, the Dragon Reborn, will go crazy and try to kill everyone he loves. Like, this is a real fear and driving forward in the books that the show is finally adequately conveying. Rand is then waking up into the fight to fight himself, to protect those he loves from himself. Like, this is Rand's battle moving forward. And although they seem to have solved it by breaking the mirrors, which did not work in the book, like, the seconds of him just fighting and then channeling, then fighting with the power, like, these are authentic Wheel of Time moments, and I love them. Perrin and his axe also get their scene. The axe trying to kill him. This was very jumbled, and honestly, I couldn't see much. From what I saw, it seemed fitting, and the axe apparently broke his wedding ring, which I wish I could care more about. But, like, the show is trying to build up strong Perrin themes here. And the Aiel, Bane and Chiad are coming with now. Like, I finally found them in the trailers, but to have it confirmed that Bane and Chiad are going to the Two Rivers is a huge relief to me. And they are going because they owe Loyal To. It's a great way to establish G-Ito early in this season, and also establish what's going to be a growing theme throughout the Wheel of Time, as it was in the books. That people are choosing to fight the Shadow not because they are told to do it, but because they want to do it. Because they have a personal connection. Bane and Chiad's loyalty to Loyal, who is instead loyal to Perrin, makes that sort of web apparent already, and I can't wait to see its further weaving. Mat. Oh, he really got the short end of the straw, because they used that to instead have Nynaeve get attacked by a Grey Man, which the girls do get attacked by a Grey Man at the beginning of The Dragon Reborn. The Grey Man in this telling is much more effective, it would seem, and much more, I guess, magically powered, since instead of being the most boring looking people on the planet, they actually look quite interesting. So I guess if magic can make them look interesting, then magic can make their interesting looks not be apparent to the people around them. But this is a visual telling of the Wheel of Time, so they're going to have to make them apparent to the audience. Like, there's a scene very late in the Wheel of Time where someone is saying, oh, there's 4 guys coming in. Actually 5. That one was very plain. That is how quick the reader can pick up that there's a Grey Man in the room. And the show does not have that amount of time or language to just convey that. So fine, the Grey Men look interesting. Okay, it's a show. I still have plenty of hopes, and even new hopes awakened in me. They're playing snakes and foxes. Like, I'm excited. Are you excited? Let me know down in the comments. Otherwise, thanks for watching. I will be airing my episode 2 and 3 review sometime soon. Let me know when you think I should do that down in the comments as well. Please like, share, and subscribe if you want to see more. Bye!